After falling to the Cavs in 7 games, the Pacers went out and had a nice offseason that saw them add Doug McDermott and Tyreke Evans, who was once the most coveted trade target in the league. With LeBron heading to the Lakers, the East is open. Here's Indiana coach Nate McMillan's take to the Boston Globe. Quote, is it open? With LeBron out? Yes. We're happy that he's gone west, but we know that it's still going to be a challenge, and we have to make sure we work on us and not assume anything. Chris, are the Pacers an Eastern Conference contender?
I actually like them. Now, here's my thing.
I thought you would be. Okay, go ahead.
I like them. I liked them last year. I went out there and spent some time with the Pacers for a little bit and I was interested, like, why are they so much better than people expected? They're probably the biggest surprise in the league last year. They finished almost with 50 wins. No stars on that team until we see Oladipo do what he does. But it's basically that McMillan kind of lets them play. He says if you have an open shot, you take it. But they all were taking mid-range shots. Highest percentage of mid-range shots in the league by a long shot, kind of like the anti-Rockets. But then they went out and they add McDermott. You get some spacing around that team. You go get O'Quinn, who I thought was a nice pickup. Evans can still get to the line. I like their pickups. It was a quiet offseason in some ways because there were no stars added, but it's just solid additions, and that's generally what you need to kind of quietly creep up on people. And all these other teams, Kawhi, you look at Kyrie Irving, there's injuries with those teams. If you could just stay healthy and be the Pacers, you might be a top 3 team.
Yeah, well, Victor Oladipo had, he was one of the breakout stars in the NBA last year. Go back to Game 5 against Cleveland on Oladipo. That should have been a goaltending. And who knows, maybe Indiana takes a 3-2 lead back home and they could have knocked off LeBron. I think they absolutely are. And I think Nate McMillan, who did a great job, same thing with Kevin Pritchard, the general manager, I think he's spot on here. LeBron is the difference maker. Now he's dominated the conference for 8 years. He's gone. It's wide open for everybody. I know what you're going to say, Boston, clearly ahead of everybody else, but Toronto with Kawhi, they got better. Kawhi Leonard, no offense to DeMar DeRozan. Kawhi Leonard is a better player than DeMar DeRozan. And now you have Indiana, who was a special team last year. They almost knocked off LeBron in the first round.
I just feel like the class of the conference is Boston, Toronto, Philly, in whatever order you want to put them in.
Sure.
And there's a separation. And I'm surprised at you, Chris, to be honest. Because the Pacers, look, they did better. They overachieved for sure. But again, it's a formula where they shot the most mid-range shots. Their three-point attempts, even though they had the league leader, I believe, was Darren Collison, three-point percentage. Yeah. They didn't take a lot of attempts. They were in the bottom third in the league in three-point attempts. They play a slow pace, faster than any other Nate McMillan team ever, but relative to the rest of the league, again, bottom third in the league in pace.
They run counter to everything that's happening in the league. That's kind of why I wanted to go study them for a week or so. But they also replaced Lance Stevenson with Tyreke Evans. If Tyreke Evans can stay healthy, if they can get a decent season out of McDermott, really, O'Quinn was kind of a cherry on top for them. I thought he was going to end up with the Warriors, then they get Boogie. I like their offseason, and I don't think last year was a fluke. I thought that they could have beaten Cleveland, even without some of that stuff. You remember some of the weird stuff, Oladipo almost fouling out early, and then them not bringing him back in until later. I like them last year.
Phantom goaltend that wasn't called.
Quick question for you, real quick. Miles Turner, does he need to take another
He needs to get a little bit better, too. And I think you talk about guys that could stand outside the line and make threes. He could be one of those players.